Well, everyone, welcome. Hope you've had a nice day and a nice week, and hope you are all feeling well. It's 6:08, Monday, October 10th. If we have any students, please raise your hand so that we could make sure that we know who you are, and we could confirm that you've been with us today. I see one hand raised, two hands raised.
Oh, two. You got it, Melanie? Oh, Melanie, do you have the students recorded?
Not yet. Where was there one?
There was two.
Oh, two. Okay. Alrighty.
You got them?
You got it, Melanie?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, students, you can put your hands down now. Thank you.
Okay, can we take a roll, please?
If I unmute, we can. John Barbera,
I am here.
Vic Christensen, I, John DeMiglio,
Here.
Dan Dixon. I know he was here and got kicked off for something and was trying to come back.
Yeah, I saw him on.
Okay, we'll come back to him. Craig Goldfarb,
Here.
Cynthia Gagne. Don't see her. Gwen Henry
Absent.
is absent. Melanie Lebrecq,
Here.
Kelly Miller is also absent, I believe. Yeah. Then Thomas Norman,
Present.
Ray Regalado,
Here.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Here.
David Samperio,
Here.
Angela Sumner,
Here.
and Chris Valle. I know he said he may be late because he was driving, so we will check for him as the meeting goes along. We have 10, so we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 2, general public comment on non-agenda items. If anyone would like to make a comment from our attendees, please raise your hand. And Mr. Christensen, would you like to?
I'm still waiting to see that proof.
It was shown. So,
We already put it up. John even acknowledged it. So if you missed it, oh well.
so we're gonna go ahead.
I didn't see it. You didn't say you put it up. Would you like to show it to me?
No, I wouldn't.
Well,
We have put it up. If you did not see it, that is on you, not on us. Let us continue with the meeting.
What is your problem?
we're
Chris,
wasting a lot of
Victor?
time. It's been proven as you had requested.
I asked to
sorry
see it and you
missed
didn't tell me it was up there and
It
I
was
didn't
up
get
for
to
all
see
to
it.
see.
So sometimes
It was
things
up
don't
for all
get
to see.
seen.
And you
Is it
were watching.
really that rude not to?
Jeez. So let's move on to a general public comment. And Laurie, and we have a couple hands up, so I see Laurie is the first one. Would you like to?
Yes, thank you. Happy Indigenous People Day to everybody. I just want to say that I'm very disappointed and appalled by some of the behavior we've already seen here today. We're supposed to be setting a good example to our community, and we have a couple of students here. We're going to be welcoming our new youth rep. And what a terrible example out of the gate we're showing them. To question, I used to be the person who did what Vic did and checked each time to make sure people's training were in. And I would contact them if it was past due and say, did you do your training? Can you send me the certificate? And I could follow up with Empower LA. And just so everybody knows, Empower LA is closed today. So even if Vic wanted to check them, he could not. Okay. And we've never asked anybody to show their certificate. We always took the word when I was said, I checked it and I have it. It was never questioned. So these are personal ad hominem attacks and very uncalled for. And I hope the tone of this meeting will change and we all remember why we're here to serve our community, and attacking a couple of people and questioning their honesty and integrity is certainly not serving our community well. So again, I'm very disappointed, and the continuous attacks by people who claim that they're always attacked, and they need to look in the mirror. We have to stop this behavior and set a better example, especially for our younger people who are watching what we do. Thank you.
Okay, I see Lydia, our minute taker, has her hand up.
Yes, thank you, Ray. I'm just asking if you can move me to panelists so that I can see the names so that I can capture them when they speak public comment. That was Laurie, but I don't have Laurie's last name.
Jacobs, and yeah, we'll move you over.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just started the move. Did you see the acknowledgement window?
Yes, I have it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we have Maria Leonido. Did I say that right, hopefully?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, Mr. Ray, yes, you did say it right. Thank you.
Great.
So thank you so much for giving me the time. My name is Maria Leonido with Neighborhood Housing Services of Los Angeles County. I just want to do a quick plug about our services. For those folks who don't know NHS, we're basically a nonprofit lender and community developer dedicated to building stronger neighborhoods. Essentially, we try to provide homeownership opportunities to communities in LA County. If you are interested in learning how to be a homeowner, we have financial counseling and education. We also provide affordable lending services. We are a HUD certified agency, so we provide down payment assistance. We also help families if they want to rehabilitate their homes with our Don't Move Improve program that enables families to tap into loans, low interest loans to help them, fix their homes. And so if anyone is interested, please visit nhslacounty.org, or you could call me at 213-381-2862. And again, my name is Maria with Neighborhood Housing Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for the work that you're doing for our communities. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here today. I do not see any other hands up. Let's see. So, John, is this going to be a non-agenda item or an extension of
So public
present
comment. Public comment. Can I make a public comment or not?
as long as it's not on the agenda, and you just
It's
make
not on
sure
the
that you're,
agenda.
and
I'm
excuse me,
making a comment
excuse me,
about,
John, please.
you keep
Make
questioning
sure
me.
that you are
You
identifying yourself as a stakeholder in this section.
I am a stakeholder. I am a
Thank you.
stakeholder.
Go ahead.
Okay. You keep shutting me out. For one reason or another, I'm an elected person. There's some people on this board aren't elected people. Okay? I got the right to speak, and you're denying me and denying people the right to speak as you choose. Okay? I'm tired also of saying, well, we don't have enough time in the meeting. Hurry up. Let's go to sleep. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to serve the public. I was elected to do that. We need to change this board. The board is wrong. The board needs to change its ways. We'll change it sooner or later. Thank you.
Okay, I see no other hands up during public comment. So we're going to go ahead and move on to agenda item number 3, and it's really a great opportunity, a great time to make sure that we have an opportunity to welcome and appoint a new member of our neighborhood council, Ben Norman. Can we move him over to speak?
And while you're doing that, I need to recuse myself from the vote. So should that involve swapping me into the attendees or should I log off? What was the recommendation for that?
We can move you over as to the attendees and then move you
Thank
back
you.
over.
Well, to recuse, to be analogous to the physical way of recusing, which is leaving the room, we should have you log out like we've done before.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then we'll let you know when it's, somebody can text you or call you when it's time to come back in.
Very good. I'll log off.
Okay, I believe he's gone now. Okay, do we have Ben Norman?
Yes.
Hello, Ben. We're looking for you here. There you are.
I'm here.
I'm Ray Regalado, and you've seen the other people on the screen. I'm the president, and I'd like to thank you for putting in your application to be our youth rep. You have some big shoes to fill from the previous youth rep, who I have an idea you might know him. Is that true?
Yeah, I do know him.
You do know him. Okay. So it's really nice to see you here. Thank you so much for applying. We'd like to, if someone can move to approve the appointment of Ben Norman, and if we can get a second, and then we can maybe allow you to say a few words.
I move.
approve. Okay, I second.
Okay, Melanie moved and John Barbera seconded. Now we'll have
Yes.
some comment. So why don't we go ahead and give you an opportunity to say a few words, and then we'll go to some of the hands that are raised.
Oh, yes. Hello, my name is Ben Norman. I am a student at the California Academy of Mathematics and Science, although I do live in San Pedro. And as a San Pedro citizen, I joined this board mainly due to seeing my brother in meetings all the time, and I thought that this would be cool to join. And so that's why I joined. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for your desire to be included in your community and your public service. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take any kind of comments by anyone. And I see a hand up, and it's Mr. Goldfarb.
Hi, Ben. Question, so you go, where is this school, the California School of Mathematics?
It's on the CSUDH campus in Carson.
What, if any, affiliations do you have with people going to school in San Pedro?
I do have a couple of friends that go to San Pedro High School.
Did you go to any San Pedro schools?
I went to Holy Trinity.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I had muted because of there was a dog barking in the background. So I see a hand up in our attendees. Let me see who that might be. And it looks like it's Laurie Jacobs. Can we let Laurie speak?
Thank you. So Ben was interviewed at the Youth and Outreach Committee meeting, and I just want to report he was very engaged, very articulate, cares a great deal about the community of San Pedro, and made it clear he is not his brother. He's got his own style and his own ideas, and we wholeheartedly at that outreach meeting were very impressed with him, and I think he will be a welcome addition to the board. He has some ideas. We'd like to work with him. If he wants to spearhead a project, then the outreach team is here to support any efforts that he has. But I just wanted everybody to know that he was quite impressive during his interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. And if just for the record, can we show that Chris Valle signed in at 6:22? welcome back or welcome in, Chris.
I've got it.
And any other comments or questions from? Okay, Chris, your hand is up. You want to go ahead and state your
Thank you.
comment?
Yeah, in my brief term of having known Ben and having interviewed him, he just seems like a good kid from a good family. He showed up and participated in an event like within days of having been, approved by the committee. Two other Normans, and they're nice people, good workers, and clearly down for the revolution. So, well, as far as I'm concerned, welcome.
Great. Thank you. I see John DeMaglio's hand up.
Yeah, how many applications were put in?
Youth and Outreach Committee.
Ray, I could answer that for you. We actually received 2 applications, both proven to be eligible. At the last minute, the applicant said she was not available for the interview. So Ben was the only one that we actually did interview. Does that answer the question? And we did a lot of outreach too, promoting to try and encourage people at all the local schools and local Rotary, Assistance League, all of those organizations. And I'm not sure, but I believe that Ben is a teen representative at the Rotary. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laurie. Okay. Let's go ahead and take our vote. I don't see any other hands up. Let's take our vote. And so you want to take a roll call vote, please?
Okay, this is, where's my? This is voting for Ben Norman as the youth rep. John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio.
No comment.
Craig Goldfarb.
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz.
Yes.
David Samperio.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, that is 9 ayes, 1 abstention, and 1 recusal.
Can we get congratulations, by the way, Ben. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
For being with us.
Thank you.
Really,
And we need to let Thomas come back now.
That's right.
I can tell him.
Oh yeah, you probably can.
Let's give him a second, a few minutes to drop in. Could you put up the swearing?
Okay, Melanie, can you stop sharing for a minute?
So in front of us, we have the new language, some new language for swearing in. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. Ben, repeat after me, please. I pledge to represent my neighborhood
I pledge to represent my neighborhood
with dignity, integrity, and pride.
with dignity, integrity, and pride.
I will encourage other points of view,
I will encourage other points of view,
even when they differ from my own.
even when they differ from my own.
I will respect, value, and consider everyone's opinion.
I will respect, value, and consider everyone's opinion.
I will find the good in my neighborhood
I will find the good in my neighborhood
and praise it and promote it.
and praise it and promote it.
to my neighbors and to my neighborhoods throughout the city of Los Angeles.
to my neighbors and to my neighborhoods throughout the city of Los Angeles.
I pledge to do this to the best of my ability.
I pledge to do this to the best of my ability.
Ben Norman, welcome to the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council.
Thank you.
So if you have any kind of projects or anything that you feel you'd like to look at or see yourself involved in, please let us know. We'd be happy to do anything we can to support and move you along, support with anyone that we may know within our realm of influence, which could be far and wide or just around the corner. So we're really looking forward to working with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we will move on to agenda item number 4, and that is the homelessness liaison report. Laurie Jacobs, please.
Thank you and welcome, Ben. I'm just waiting for them. There we go. Okay, thank you. So as usual, I do usually start off with reminding everybody to use LA Hop as a means to trigger outreach if you see somebody in need. The CD15 working group on homelessness normally meets virtually the first Tuesday of each month. We were dark this month, but in November, we will actually have 2 days of in-person meetings, and they haven't yet posted the exact times and locations. So I will share that when that's available. They want to kind of take a deep dive onto where we see this group going, moving forward. Are we going to take on more action items and continue to share throughout CD15 how we can address homelessness? You could scroll a little bit, Mel. So the homeless count I mentioned last time, the numbers had just come out during the last meeting. So I have a recap here. The last 3 pages, which you don't need to go to, hopefully everybody will click on it. It is on our website and in your packet. I shared the specific details for San Pedro, Harbor City and Wilmington. And I have links where you can access information for all of these regions. The whole service planning aid, if you want to look at by supervisory district, you can look at the data and let me know if you have any questions. As I said last time, San Pedro actually had an overall decrease by 36%, which is great. It means the work that we're doing, finding shelters and permanent supportive housing are working, and especially considering COVID and a lot of other factors. Unfortunately, Wilmington, theirs has increased, Harbor City has decreased. So we need to look at the overall numbers. And as I stated last time, it's very frightening that in the whole service planning area, seniors, which they consider 55 plus, experiencing homelessness increased a whopping 42%. Fastest growing demographic of homelessness, just ahead of transitional age youth. So it's our young and our old that are getting the brunt of this. Mel, can you scroll? A little more. So there's some of the links, okay? And I know that maybe it sounds like a broken record when I keep talking about tenant and renters' rights. I'm trying to follow the changes that are happening at a rapid rate. LA City voted a couple of weeks ago. They're going to end the moratorium on rent, on evictions, January 31st. The supervisors for the county are looking at the end of this year, but I think they're trying to modify it, not being just a hard stop, but will there be exceptions and what can people do? I added 4 new resources to the neighborhood council website under tenant. No, stay where you were, go back. Okay, stop. On tenant rights, there's the HRC, which is the Housing Rights Center, and it's a federal organization, but there's an 800 number. If you have any concerns about your housing rights, that's a place to start. They also printed the California Tenant Protection Act, and I believe the governor is looking at what kind of exceptions or how can we help people. And there's also the California Mortgage Relief. So this is not one-sided. We need to not only help tenants who are in trouble, but we need to be able to help property owners who have been struggling to make their mortgage payments because of people getting a moratorium on paying their rent. And so I will continue to keep you advised on these because of the scary predictions that when these eviction moratoriums end, we will have a huge increase, and we continue to have a very low inventory of housing. We try to look at accessory dwelling units, shared housing, vacant units. A lot of groups are working very hard to try and turn over every stone we can find to make housing available. We do have a fair amount of shelter available, but that's just the interim step. That's a Band-Aid. The whole goal here is to get people housed, and where necessary, get case management to help with job, career workforce development, so they have jobs that will sustain them in their homes. And if they need it, substance use, mental health, and other things to make sure they're on the right path. It's not that easy. If you've been living on the street for a couple of years just to be thrown in an apartment, it's a very hard adjustment for a lot of people. And we don't want them to just be a yo-yo and bounce back out. So that's important. If you have any questions, look at the links on the site, let me know, and I'd be glad to try and answer any questions individually. And then voter registration, October 24th is the last day to register to still be eligible for the November 8th election. And I have instructions here for people, if they do not have an address, what address they can use to register to vote. The 988 helpline is active, but it's a work in progress. They're still really working hard to ramp up to have enough people. This is an alternative. If somebody calls 911 and they determine it's not necessarily a need for law enforcement, they're going to direct it to 988, which is going to go to a mental health center, and they're going to evaluate what needs to be done. We find quite often social work, mental health workers may be a better source of helping people than law enforcement if nobody is in danger. So I didn't provide updated numbers on how many people are at the shelters right now. All of them are off of COVID quarantine, so that's good. They've been able to, the Bridge Home ramp up, and also the county facility, so they can be at full capacity, which is great. The Gulch encampment is still not even in place. There's nobody there, and it just takes a village of a lot of different people working on things. And if you're active in or involved in all with mental health, we need to find ways to create more mental health facilities, board and care, etc. So that's my report for now. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to respond.
Okay, so anyone, please raise your hand if you'd like to make a comment and or ask a question. First 10 I see is John DeMaglio. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Laura, are you a paid employee?
I'm sorry, what did he say?
Are you a paid employee?
You're cutting out toward the end, John.
Are you a paid employee of one of these agencies?
No, I am not a paid employee of any of the agencies you see on the screen. I'm a paid employee of the South Bay City's Council of Governments on a Measure H LA County initiative researching innovative solutions to homelessness. But none of the organizations that I'm referring to you here, these are all government and nonprofit agencies.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up. So we're gonna go ahead and close this item. Laurie, thank you very much for the work that you do. And it's not easy, it's kind of thankless, but I want you to know that we truly appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
You
Appreciate
know what, and I actually see a hand up. Vic, is this gonna be according to, gonna be a question for Laura before we let her go?
No, it's just a quick update that Dan Dixon was able to come back in, but he is a call-in. So I have given him the ability to speak, but you probably won't see his name unless I can rename him. But he is at the meeting.
Great, thank you. Okay, Laurie, well, thank you very much for all the work you do. Thank you for being here tonight, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our next item, and that's our elected governmental and public safety representatives. I'm going to go ahead and not exactly sure if I see any other representatives. Just checking real quick, see if I recognize anybody, but please. I see.
We've
Oh,
got a
okay,
couple.
good. Okay, yeah, I see a couple. But if you don't all mind, I'm really proud to introduce Assemblyperson Al Maratsuchi. It's really great to have him here today, and I had the pleasure of meeting him and talking to him for a brief moment at a function about a week and a half ago. Assembly member, would you like to go ahead and talk a little bit?
All right. Well, thank you, President Regalado and members of the Neighborhood Council. My name is Al Marathucci. You can just call me Al. And I hope to earn the privilege of representing San Pedro in the California legislature after the November 8th election. I've been serving in the California legislature for 8 years now. I've lived in the South Bay for over 25 years, mostly in Torrance. I'm a former Torrance School Board member, former prosecutor and deputy attorney general with the California Department of Justice. I'm teaching a class at UCLA now, and I'm really looking forward to earning the privilege of representing San Pedro. I have to admit, I've never lived in Pedro. I have friends there, but I love to go eat at some of your great restaurants in the downtown San Pedro area. But I look forward to learning much about your communities, your neighborhoods. I just wanted to introduce myself and see if I can answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember. We'll go ahead and see if there's any questions for the Assemblymember from the board or attendees at this particular point. I do not see any other hands. Well, Assemblymember, thank you so much for being here today.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I do see a name there that just popped up. It looks like it's Laurie Jacobs. Laurie, you want to go ahead?
Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Assembly Member. I'm so glad to see you again. And thank you so much for the work you've been doing, because I see you everywhere and you've been very supportive of some of the concerns we have with mental health and finding interim and permanent supportive housing. Is there anything in the works that you know of in our harbor area that you would want to share with the group related to housing or mental health?
Yeah, well, thank you, Laurie, and thank you for all your work with the South Bay COG. I know that the homelessness is a big concern in your neighborhoods. I've been working on trying to get more mental health treatment as well as drug addiction treatment for the homeless as one of many causes of the increasing numbers of the homeless. This year, I introduced a bill, AB 2220, which proposed statewide funding to create more homeless courts. These are homeless courts that are to be distinguished from the other courts that we just created, the care courts. But the homeless courts, it's basically, we have a successful program in my district, and I should have clarified. I currently represent the South Bay from Gardena down through Palos Verdes, including the beach cities. And there's a great homeless court program that's been very successful in Redondo Beach. I know, Laurie, you know about that. But basically, it's taking, low level, more quality of life type offenses, criminal offenses, misdemeanors and infractions. But rather than basically punishing people for being poor, we're using these criminal courts as an opportunity to provide intervention, wraparound services like mental health treatment, like drug addiction treatment, providing job training, housing navigation, all like wraparound services to try to get people off the streets and back onto their feet. So that's a program that I'm really proud of in my district, and I was trying to take it statewide. I was able to deliver some funding for a homeless court, the homeless court program in Redondo, but basically all the air in the legislature got sucked out, by the governor's proposal for the care courts, which, as many of you may know, it's a program that is basically designed to try to get treatment for the severely mentally ill, primarily the schizophrenic folks suffering from degrees of severe mental illness, including schizophrenia. So those are some of the efforts that I continue to want to champion. But mental health continues to be one of my big concerns. I'm a parent of a teenager. We're seeing a dramatic increase in anxiety and depression, especially among teenagers. And as a parent, as a former Torrance School Board member, and as a big supporter of our public schools, I want to make sure that we're taking care of our teenagers and getting them the mental health support that they need. So that's just some of the things I've been working on. Thanks, Laura, for your question.
Okay, I do not see any other hands up at this particular point. So, Assembly Member Al, thank you for being here today, especially since it's Indigenous Peoples Day today, holiday that some of us would love to be able to take off sometimes.
Thank you, Ray. And I understand the best coffee shop in San Pedro is Sirens, and I look forward to having coffee with you soon.
I'm hoping we can do it quickly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Have a good day or evening. Okay, we have a member of our local police, Port Police, Officer Morales. How are you doing today?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. I haven't seen a lot of you in quite some time, but I'm glad to be back. I would start off just with pretty much mentioning as far as our stats, what I do have. I don't have any current ones, but I do have as up to date of in October, but I do have from August to September 4th. These are all waterfront and port property crimes and stats that do end up in the large number of the pool for LAPD as well. We do have as far as violent crimes, as far as then of aggravated assaults, 2, 1 burglary, 1 vehicle theft, 1 vehicle burglary from a vehicle, another burglary from a vessel. Personal other theft, we have 2, doesn't specify exactly what. Vandalisms, we have 4. Other crimes, we have 8, doesn't specify in the part 2 crimes. As far as arrests, then we do have the aggravated assault batteries, we do have 2. One of them was in one of the container terminals, it was a trucker. Another one was at Portugal Village in that area, or West Harbor is being called. And other than that, I do mention another one was a possible theft of a vessel from Wilmington Marinas, but then it was then recovered. It was non-reported, but then quickly was recovered. Also too, if we do have the holidays approaching us, so do remember to log on to the Port of Los Angeles.org website, and then you're able then to get on the calendar and view the events that are coming up. Happy Harbor Halloween is coming up for Wilmington at the Wilmington Waterfront Park. Simultaneously will be happening also over at San Pedro Promenade, right there by Fire Station 112 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. But do look, the calendar will give you more specified exactly on the times. Also then come December 3rd, we do have Wilmington Wonderland at Wilmington Waterfront Park. And that, again, that same evening, we are going to have the Holiday Afloat Parade. It's coming back this year. So be happy to answer any questions. Sorry to be brief, but I know there's a lot of agenda that you have there, Ray.
Thank you very much, Officer Morales.
You're welcome.
Anyone would like to ask a question to our port officer here today? Let's see, I do not see any hands up. I guess that tells us that you did a very thorough report there, Officer Morales.
I thank you very much. I tried, folks. But again, if anything else, you'll be able then to reach me at amorales@portla.org, or if not, then like I said, if you want to view the events, go to the Port of Los Angeles.org website for the calendar for a slew of different events that do come on, not only in the winter, fall, but also spring and summer, year round. Thank you again, Ray.
Thanks a lot. Have a good evening. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 6. This is our presentation, and today we have the project Clearwater that we're going to get an update from Mr. Glenn Acosta from the LA County Sanitation District. Can we?
Ray, if I can just interrupt real quick.
Sure.
We've had more people join, so we wanted to do one more check on students.
Okay.
Just to be sure we didn't miss anybody who came in after the first time.
Okay.
So if there's anybody who is a student, if you'd please raise your hand. Even if you raised it before, please raise it again. And then Melanie, let me know when you are done.
Got it.
Okay, students, you can put your hands down now. All right.
Okay.
Where is Glenn?
So I believe I saw Glenn's.
Is the presentation going to need to share screen instead of me, or?
Vic, how do we arrange the sharing of the screen?
Well, I just moved Glenn to panelist, and that should allow him to
Okay.
share.
So
If it doesn't, then we have another option, but let's see if it'll work.
All right, so let me share my screen. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Glenn.
I'm still disabled.
You can't? Okay. Hang on.
No.
Where are you?
All right, so let me try one more time still. Not quite yet.
Is it even giving you the option to share?
No,
I
it
think
says
you have to be a
disable. I think I
Okay.
have to be a co-host.
Well, there is a setting where panelists should be able to, but that may not be flipped right now, so we'll make you a co-host.
Okay, there you go. Now I can do it. Okay. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks again for having me to give you an update on the Clearwater project. I'm Glenn Acosta. I'm a senior engineer with the Public Information Office. So for the benefit of those that have not been keeping up with the project, let me just give you a quick overview of who we are and why we're doing the project, and then get into what we've done since the last presentation. So our agency manages the sewage for over half the population in LA County, 5.6 million people. Our service areas from the South Bay all the way to the Antelope Valley. And we manage the sewage by directing the flow from the businesses and the homes through local sewers, which are managed by cities, And those sewers pipes connect to a larger sewer called trunk sewers. And the flow is directed to our 11 wastewater treatment plants, which are shown here in the green dots. Our largest plant is in Carson. It is called the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant. It is the hub of the main sewer system that serves the southern half of the county. 5 million people in 73 cities. It takes in about 260 million gallons per day of sewage. So that's enough sewage to fill the Super Bowl, the Rose Bowl 3 or 4 times every day. And so what happens is the sewage flows into the plant, and in less than half a day, it gets turned into clean water. And that clean water goes out to the ocean through 2 tunnels that were built 60 and 80 years ago. So the Clearwater project is about addressing this aging infrastructure by building a brand new tunnel. And so nowadays, to build a tunnel, you use what's called a tunnel boring machine. And these machines are pretty impressive. They're high tech. And in the front, there's a cutting head that's like a cheese grater, and it cuts away the rock and soil, and it pushes all that to the back. And right attached to the tunnel boring machine is this long trailing gear, which is basically a mini city that supports the front of the tunnel boring machine. It has all the pumps, it has air ducts, it has all kinds of things to make tunneling happen. So the way these machines work is that it digs about 5 feet, it stops, and then it starts putting up the walls of the tunnel. So it puts up the wall segments, and once it completes a ring, which is like 6 segments, then it pushes off that ring, it goes another 5 feet, and then you put up more walls. And so like ships, these tunnel boring machines have names, or they're given names. And so ours is named Rachel, after Rachel Carson, who was an environmental pioneer and author of the Silent Spring book. And so in order to put the tunnel boring machine into the ground, we have this empty lot that we own, and that's where we build a shaft to lower the tunnel boring machine. So 2 years ago, we spent a lot of time building the shaft. It's about 60 feet wide and 135 feet deep. So if you think about it in terms of school buses, it's more than a school bus long. And if you stack 3 school buses on top of each other, it's longer and deeper than that. And so once we finished building the shaft, we started to lower the pieces of the tunnel and boring machine into that shaft last summer. And we started with the front end. And once we put the cutter head and the front of the TBM into the shaft, then we proceeded to assemble the front piece of the TBM. And then once that was done, we inserted it into a small starter tunnel. So that's what enables the machine to be in a hole and to start digging. And so once it was into the starter tunnel, we put in the steel frame, which is right here. And that's what it pushes off to proceed forward. And that trailing gear that I was mentioning, it's about 700 feet long. So if you think about the SoFi Stadium, it's about over 2.5 football fields long. So the shaft is only 60 feet. So the way to attach these things is to do it one gantry at a time. So here's a photo of one of the first gantries being lowered and attached to the tunnel boring machine. And this was done in the middle of last year. So how long is a tunnel? Well, the existing tunnels that you see here in the blue lines, they're about 6 miles long. And it's pretty much like a straight shot from our plant in Carson to Royal Palms Beach. But the new tunnel will be 7 miles long because it's going to follow underneath the streets all the way down and underneath Harbor Regional Park. And the reason is because when we did public outreach, the folks in the area didn't want the TBM to go underneath their homes. So we're staying underneath the streets for that. And so we started the tunneling last year. And so this is how far it's gone. So here's our lot in Carson. It went underneath Figueroa Street. And then once it reached Pacific Coast Highway over here, it started making the turn underneath the freeway. And from there, it started going into Harbor Regional Park. So right now we're about halfway through Harbor Regional Park, underneath the golf course. And we're about to go underneath Machado Lake. So here's a photo of the first few feet of tunnel that was built. And here to the right is the first mile of tunnel that was built. So it'll show you a video from where the tunnel boring machine is, and it makes its way all the way back to where the shaft is. And so every day, this vehicle brings the materials to the tunnel boring machine, the wall segments. It brings personnel back and forth. And so here it is, what the first mile looks like. And unlike Metro, which is like a straight line for a tunnel, our tunnel has some bends. It has about 30 curves in the tunnel alignment. And so here's the vehicle arriving back at the shaft. And as you can see, these are air ducts that carry fresh air into the tunnel. And there's all kinds of piping and other things that are needed for tunneling. And so we started at our Carson plant, the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant. And right now we're about to go under Machado Lake. And later this year, we're going to be stopping at the south end of Harbor Regional Park. And we'll start going on Gaffey. So along the tunnel alignment, we have a lot of sensors from the street surface all the way down to where the tunnel boring machine is. So it's just another added safeguard and ways of providing feedback to control the operation. And so here's some examples of some of the sensors that were installed along the way. Some monitor the structures, other for noise, other for ground movement, and also for any movement on the walls anywhere. And so all these sensors transmit real time to one location, to a server, and those signals in turn go to an app on your phone. So everyone that's involved with the construction can see where the machine is at and look at any point along the way. And here's an example of all the sensors from Figueroa as a tunnel boring machine makes its way underneath Harbor Regional, the Harbor Freeway. So anyway, that's where we're at, and I will take any questions.
Okay, everyone. Thank you, Glenn, for the presentation. So if you have a question or comment, please raise your hand, both on the attendee side and also on the panelist side. I do see a couple hands on the panelist side. So we'll go ahead. The first hand I saw go up was John DeMeglio. John, you want to go ahead and ask your question or make a comment, and then we'll go to Craig.
Yeah, hi, thank you for that presentation. It was excellent. I have about 4 questions. When was the start time? You said 2 different outlets were out there now. You mentioned Royal Palms as one. Where's the other outlet? And
okay.
Also, what at the Royal Palms outlet, what is the water quality in that area?
Okay, so let me tackle the first question. So as I showed you in the video clip, we build a shaft to lower the machine into the ground, and that shaft is located in Carson. So the other shaft, which is the exit shaft at Royal Palms Beach, won't be built for a number of years. So it'll be built somewhere around the 2024 timeframe. It's a lot smaller and shallower. So once the tunnel boring machine gets to the beach, the front end of that machine will be removed through that shaft. And then the whole trailing gear, that long trailing gear that you saw, will be taken all the way back to Carson and removed at that shaft. All the rock and soil that's removed, all that goes out the Carson shaft. So it's really when we get to the beach that we start seeing any activity there. And as far as the water quality goes, it's very clean water. It looks like drinking water when you look at the water coming out of the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant. And so we have lots of requirements for that water to be discharged to the ocean, and it's exceptional water.
Okay, right. It's gonna bleed into the existing outlet at Royal Palms?
So right now at the beach, there are 4 outfalls that go out about 1.5 miles. And so those outfalls are basically large pipes that follow the bottom of the ocean. And at the end of those outfalls are big ports. And so the water comes out of those ports. That's about 200 feet below the ocean surface. And so the new tunnel, at the beach, there's a structure, but beneath the sand, that connects the existing tunnels to those outfalls. So when we build a new tunnel, we're gonna have to reconfigure that underground structure to add that tunnel and be able to switch over to the new tunnel.
How far out from the shoreline out does that pipeline go?
So the outfalls go about 1.5 miles, and they're about 200 feet below the water surface.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Greg?
I had a couple questions. In regards to on Gaffey Street, there was a lot of construction done down there, and I thought it was having to do with your Clearwater project, but you're not there yet. So am I mistaken?
So what happened on Gaffey were 2 projects. Ours, which we're putting in the sensors, and so we closed a couple lanes for a while, put the sensors in, and this also the this underground structure, it's like a maintenance stop that we built underground. So that work was completed. It's all clear there now. The other project that was occurring was from the Department of Water and Power from the city of Los Angeles. So they have pipes that go underneath Gaffey. And so they attach electrical current basically to those pipes to keep the corrosion down. And so they had to add more of those current stations along the way. So you probably saw that construction occur. And a lot of people thought that was our project, but it wasn't.
And I understand that you're doing a water recycling project adjacent to your plant. How would it be an opportunity to ask how is that going? And I understand it's a pilot program.
Yeah, so a lot of people ask us, why are we discharging the water to the ocean instead of recycling it? And so we recycle the water at the other plants, all 10. But for the one in Carson, the water is too salty to recycle. So in order to make it into drinking water quality, you need to put it through advanced purification to take out all the salts and all the impurities. And so that's the kind of project that we've been embarking on with the Metropolitan Water District. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we built a small demonstration plant to test out the technology. So the water that's treated at the plant will go through this advanced purification, purify the water. And what we vision is that once you purify that water, that water would be a new source of drinking water for the whole region. And if that full-size facility is built, it'll be enough water to supply 1.5 million people. So it's a great project. It'll reduce our reliance on importing water to LA County. So it'll take once it's approved, it'll take about 10 years to build, plus or minus. And so we have to put in all kinds of infrastructure through the region. So that takes a while to do. Right now, there is a notice of preparation for the EIR. And so if you want to comment on that, you can look at the website, our website, and the Metropolitan Water Districts. Did I answer your question? Okay.
I'm gonna ask a quick question and then we'll finish up with John Zameglio. For your public comment period, how much time do you usually give for those periods? Glenn?
So I think for this particular project, the one with the Metropolitan Water District is called Pure Water.
Right.
It's 6 weeks, I believe, a little over 6 weeks, a comment period. And we just started, I think, a week ago.
And I ask this because for most neighborhood councils, you know, we're kind of looking at when there is a need for public comment, we have to go through our process to bring it usually, at least for Northwest San Pedro. And then I think most of the other ones around the area are about the same. It goes to a committee, and then from a committee, then they kind of research it, get all the information, and then they make a recommendation to the full board at the next meeting. And sometimes that can be anywhere from 45 to 60 days to do that process. I say that only so that, you know, there's plenty of time when projects like this are coming around, and perhaps maybe you all can keep this stuff in mind so that we are able to process, you know, any type of public comment period that give you a good
Yeah,
opportunity to-
it's a great question. So if you let me to share my screen for 2 minutes, and I'll give you a little more information. Let's see, hopefully. So here is a demonstration facility that we built in Carson. And it takes about 500,000 gallons a day from the plant and purifies it. So we're testing the technology. And someone asked, what does the water look like before it goes to the ocean? And this is what it looks like right here. It looks, you know, very clean. And then, you know, it's a very important project. Even the governor came to our facility in Carson. But you were asking about, you know, San Pedro and your neighborhood council, how would you be involved in the project? So really, the idea is to purify the water that comes out of our plant in Carson. And then from there, we put in the piping inland to take it to where we recharge the aquifers. So it would be up in the San Gabriel Basin, Orange County, and up a little bit north towards El Segundo, that area. So, the infrastructure does not go through your neighborhood council or your region. It goes from Carson inland. And so, but regardless, you can still, you know, provide comments on the project. I think it's important to reduce our reliance on imported water and to recycle more. But, you know, you're welcome to comment on the project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. John, you can finish up with your last question.
Okay, I just want to say, great presentation, very easy to follow. And the only you brought up sensors. And what do the sensors do? Do they monitor the pipeline?
Very good question. So the sensors, there are different types. Some are attached to the street and they monitor for any movement. There's some that monitor for vibration. There's some that are attached to buildings to make sure the buildings don't move. And there are sensors that are attached to the water lines below the street, so make sure they don't move, or the gas lines. And then there are sensors that go all the way down to where the machine is. It's like an early warning system, make sure there's no settlement or anything like that. So it's multiple layers of safeguards to make sure that, you know, the operations proceed accordingly and safely.
You mentioned movement. Is that earthquake stuff? Movement?
No, it's just that, you know, there's always people always have concerns, like when you do LA Metro jobs going through downtown or going through very, you know, where you have buildings right next to the tunnel. There are concerns about any movement or settlement. And so this is just part of the engineered design of projects like this, where you put sensors everywhere so that, you know, everything proceeds accordingly.
Okay, thank you so much. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Glenn. Well, thank you very much for being here today with us. Really appreciate your.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Have a nice evening.
Take care. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to agenda item number 7. It's our consent calendar. We have 4 items. Item A is to approve the September 12th meeting minutes. Item B is to approve the Twitter account administrator. And item C is approve the addition of Cynthia Gagne to the Community Issues Committee. And D is to approve the letter to support Nico's Pizzeria for a beer and wine license. So do I hear if any of these want to be taken out from the order?
I just question who are the Twitter administrators?
It'll be identified. So you want to go ahead and let them know what?
The list was in the agenda packet since at least Saturday, if not Friday. Did you not look at it?
Could you answer the question? We have people that aren't on the board and they haven't seen the agenda packet. Don't you think that's something that the public should know, or is that a problem with you? Again.
Oh, not a problem, but you've been known for not being observant and looking at that before. So I just wanted to make sure.
Is this about attacking me or what?
Let's go ahead and just give them the information. So, Craig, can you see that on the screen? I want to make sure that you see it. Craig?
Can we say it out loud so the public knows?
The Twitter, the account is Twitter. The purpose of posting Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council related information, and the administrators will be Christina Smith and Chris Valle. How's that? Okay, hearing no objection or anything like that, we're gonna go ahead and take them all. Can I get a motion, please?
So,
motion.
second,
Okay, I'm sorry, I was not looking, so.
John Barbera, motion.
and Norman seconds, Thomas.
Great, okay. Any discussion? I see no hands, so we'll go ahead and vote on it. You want to take the vote count, please?
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio,
Yes.
Dan Dixon is. Can you unmute yourself, okay, Dan?
Hello.
There you are.
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Let's
okay,
vote.
gotcha. Craig Goldfarb,
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Yes.
Ben Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
David Samperio,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, that is unanimous. So I believe it's 13 if I counted right.
All right,
Yes, 13 ayes, no nays.
great. Thank you all. Let's move on to item number 8. These are all our motions. We're going to go ahead and start off with our Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, so first is the MER, and our meeting was the 4th, and the MERs, as you know, don't publish until between the 5th and the 7th on the city clerk website. So this is not out of committee. So right now we have $30,961.71. This month, the only thing that was spent was the $276 for office for the Wix website. And so do I have a motion, a first and a second?
So moved.
Second, Norman.
Okay, Chris Valle moved and Mr. Norman is the Thomas Norman. Now I have to make sure. Thomas Norman, second. So-
Okay, so any discussion? John?
Yeah, we have about $30,000 you're talking, right? And how
Yes.
long does that go till? How long does that 30,000
Fiscal
last?
year- The fiscal year runs from July of one year to the end of June the following year.
Okay, and we got 30,000 to spend.
Right,
And
but a lot
when,
of it is allocated to
what-
like office regulated stuff and everything.
okay,
you'll
and
see-
when are we gonna start spending this money on the community?
You will see. The COVID has kind of restricted that, so unfortunately, but there's stuff coming up. It's on the agenda, if you looked at the agenda. So,
Thank you.
alrighty. So, any further comments? Alrighty, I'll call for the vote. Thomas,
Yes.
Dave Sampirio,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
John DeMaglio,
Yes,
Dan Dixon. Can you unmute Dan? Dan? I'll come back to him. Craig
Yes.
and myself, yes. Angela,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
and Adrianita.
Yes.
And Ben, because you're under 18, you won't be able to vote on the financial items.
Yeah.
So next is the budget. So our budget here is the way that everything that we've allocated and outreach right now here has a unallocated amounts of $5,448. But again, this matches the amount of money that we have left. This is out of committee. So any discussion? That being said, call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Dave Sampirio,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Victor Christensen,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
John DeMaglio,
yes.
Dan Dixon.
I've tried to unmute him to,
Yeah.
to give, to allow him to talk, but I haven't seen
out of
anything happen.
room. Craig,
Yes.
let's see, Melanie, yes. And Angela
Yes.
and Chris Valle
Yes.
and Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, so next item. This is a first request for funding. This is a request for $1,200, $1,000 for our sponsorship, and then $200 for arts and crafts for Candy Cane Lane, which will be December 2nd, 2022 from 5 to 9 p.m. down at Weymouth Corners and 8th Street. This is out of committee. So is there any discussion on this? John?
How much is that gonna cost?
it's $1,200. Our sponsorship fee for the table and everything there is $1,000 every year. And then $200 for, we do candy canes and crafts and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Discussion? Okay, that being said, call for the vote. Thomas,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Peck,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
John DeMaglio,
Yes.
Dan, Craig,
Yes.
myself, yes. Angela,
Yes.
Chris Valier,
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next is this is for $500 for our participation and sponsorship for the San Pedro Holiday Parade that will be December 4th from 1 to 3. We'll ride in the trolley in this and have our banner hung up. This is out of committee, so any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Dave Samperio,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Victor Christensen,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
John DeMaglio,
Yes.
Dan Dixon,
He texted that it seems like he won't be able to unmute. It's not acknowledging the unmute, so
alrighty.
go ahead and call to make it official, but it's probably gonna be a no answer.
Yeah, he has to physically be here to vote, so it can't be a text or a call. Craig
Yes.
and Melanie, yes. Angela,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, the next one. The next is for newsletter for $4,450. It's for newsletter number 1. It's going to have the call to candidates for our election in April, as well as information on resources for losing your home and all that, because of all those protections are going to possibly be going away. So this newsletter will go out in December or January. So any discussion? This is out of committee. Craig?
I'm still in question about whether these newsletters really have value to us or to the community, because they don't seem to get seen that much, and they are so basically simple that they don't seem to convey a lot of information. I think that we should reevaluate and see if we can find other ways of putting out a lot more structured information, especially on the candidates and things like that, than the newsletter. We've been doing it for years, and I don't think it's of value.
Okay. Next was John DeMaglio.
Yeah. I agree with that statement. We need to do like a flyer with all the candidates on it, mail it that way, it'd be cheaper. And what you're proposing, who gets the money for this? What you're proposing, what company and who gets the money for this?
This is all through Outreach that sends proposals. It's not me. I'm just a treasurer. Outreach does this, and they've set up and they have for years, this guy that does the mailing, he does bulk mailing that they've used for years, and it goes to the post office, and then Reed Printing is the printing company they use to print it.
What's the name of the company?
Reed Printing, and the other place is,
Where's that located?
oh, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, John.
Okay, and who owns that?
I don't, it's some company that the board has dealt with for many years doing the newsletter. It's just
Okay.
the same people that they've used over and over.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
all right,
I just think it's a waste of time.
Chris,
Thank you. Yeah, whose time's being wasted? Because I haven't seen any of our detractors participate in the committees that do regularly review these newsletters, and all other, and I'm speaking, and all other modes of outreach, which is of course our mission. So we do a constant review of what modalities and what channels are most effective, and what to the best of our ability, limited as it is to find out literally how many people ever read a newsletter. It doesn't give you the same kind of data that social media does. But as has been brought up on many occasions, not everyone is on social media. Not everyone finds utility in that. And so for certain kind of boilerplate fixtures like elections and broad significant community issues like homelessness, we find additional value in publicizing and discussing these topics in some of our other channels, Facebook posts, Instagram, and now Twitter. But for other things, and to make sure that we've done our due diligence in reaching as many people in the community as possible, it is, to date, has been considered useful to have a print newsletter. And it is continually, discussed in terms of its relevance and utility. But if there are any other suggestions on how that's being done, those are handled in the community, in the youth and outreach committee meetings, and anyone who wishes to attend those and make comment on those things can and does. So it's, it's been thoroughly considered.
Angela?
I'm certainly not against any conversations about evaluating its usefulness, but I do just want to say that I had multiple people approach me and say, I didn't know you were running for neighborhood council until they saw it in the newsletter. And I know, like for my mother, for example, and for a lot of people in the older age range, having a print paper is a really useful thing that, I don't know, I see usefulness in it. And I think it's a conversation we can continue to have, but I see the benefit.
John Barbera?
I've been doing this printing of this newsletter since I've been on, and when I started. So I don't know why it's not. I mean, it's been one of the best things that we've done. We've give information out. We put pictures every time when we have the voting, when we have the elections. There's pictures in there, little brief summaries that they give. So I'm sorry, this is not a waste of time. We've been doing this in the youth and outreach now. And everybody that I've talked to, even around the community, the people that I know in this community, that I do go around, talk to people, not like most people do, but I find it that they're very helpful and thankful for the newsletter. So it works.
Ray?
Yeah, I really appreciate the comments about the usefulness of this particular outreach effort. I would like to make sure that people also understand that there are still people who do not have the ability to electronically get onto a search engine or website or anything like that. And they do rely on hard copies. Usually these are individuals who may not have the equipment, who may not have access because of disabilities and things like that. So in the spirit of being equitable in how we share our information, this is a very, very good opportunity for people to get to know who we are, what we're doing, and how we're doing it. And like others have said, I have gotten lots of feedback from many people that says how important this publication is, and that they do gain a lot of insight as to what's going on into our community, our local community by this effort. So it's definitely a plus for us, and I think it continues to serve its purpose. I want it just to make sure that we do have people on the attendee side to.
Yeah, I'm gonna
if there's-
take Thomas's comment and then I'm gonna go to the attendee side because the last two have spoken already.
Right, right.
And take the Thomas.
Yeah, thank you. I take the point of asking about the vendors, well taken, and making sure we evaluate the effectiveness. We've seen print media, fall in popularity, but it is, it does serve a niche of the people in the community that I talk to, tends to scale older. So I'm in support of it. I've been on the, youth and outreach and have some more insight into, the decisions, and agree with the suggestion that we encourage, folks to do so. But I can't recall, or I don't know much detail about the vendor, when the last time is we've looked at what our options are there. That's always a prudent thing to do. So as a member of that committee, I'll take that feedback back for our next meeting.
Laurie Jacobs.
Hi, thank you very much. A couple of points to make. This is not an issue to show the candidates. This is a call for candidates. This is our opportunity to reach out to the community and try and find more people who want to be involved with the neighborhood council. This is going to go to 11,578 households. And to answer some of the question, Ken Perry Mailing is the company that does the bulk mailing, and Reed Publishing has been doing the printing. We've had tremendous success with both of these organizations. Reed Publishing gets the issue to the Perry Mailing within a day. Quite often we're under a crunch to get an issue out. So that's important. People have already talked about here about the importance of reaching people who aren't online. Let me take that a step further and say that's discrimination. Okay, we have a digital divide, and that is just blatant discrimination. And what's really disturbing is that the same people keep bringing this issue every time, and we explain why there is such an importance. If they care so much about really engaging our community, then they would not want to discriminate against people who do not have the ability to see this message online. And we also use social media every week, or almost every week. We have an e-newsletter that also contains the same information. We voted already earlier in the year that we wanted a call for candidates issue. And then later on, after the candidates are available, we're going to print their statements and their pictures. And one other last point is we include emergency information and park information. And people tell me they cut this out and put it on their refrigerator. This is valuable information that sometimes people want to have a hard copy. So again, I'm very disturbed at the attacks at saying that this is useless. That is clearly showing not a consideration for our community, as they keep stating. Thank you.
John.
Yeah, way out of line. There's no discriminating against anybody by commenting on this situation. I'm a businessman myself. Flyers work better. What's the difference in price? How can that little, if you got to cut it out, if we have a flyer that they can actually put on their refrigerator, what's the difference? It would be more effective. All we need to do is find out what the difference is, and because those things come in a group with a whole bunch of advertisement, people just throw them away. And I have no problems with the elections. I did very well in the elections. I don't think that was a big part of my winning the elections. So I think it needs to be reevaluated. You just can't keep throwing money at nothing, like that was said. We go now digitally, that's fine too. I'm not digitally inclined, but I wouldn't mind to see a flyer just like these candidates are doing for CD15 or whatever, putting out flyers out. And what's the cost difference and how effective is it compared to that paper that I think it's overrated and overpriced. And I'm not meaning waste of time, I'm meaning waste of money. Thank you.
Craig?
Yes, it's really distressing when you voice an opinion and then you get attacked because you don't agree with that opinion, not because and with anecdotal information instead of real facts and figures. And one board member said it was anecdotal information. We're not saying that we should not do outreach to the community or do mailers to the community. What we were saying is maybe we need to reevaluate it. Like John said, maybe we need to do flyers. We used to give out magnets with contact numbers to people. I can give you the same anecdotal information when I spoke to my neighbors about whether they read the newspaper, and most of them said no. And I speak to my neighbors. I go and talk to my neighbors. That's how I ended up getting elected to this seat, because I went out and talked to my neighbors. The basis of a board is not that you have to go to every committee meeting to voice your opinion. That is why it comes to the board. That somebody would suggest that, oh, if you didn't go to the committee meeting, that you're put out in that you can't voice an opinion is ludicrous. I think that a lot of people need to reevaluate how they see what their positions on the board are. Is it to attack anybody that disagrees with you or stands up for the community?
Chris?
If someone had said that by not attending a committee meeting that you did not have the right to voice an opinion, that would be a ludicrous thing if that had happened, which had not happened. What was said was that if people attend committee meetings, then they would be party to the discussions and they would be party to the information that goes into making those committee members vote the way they do when the questions come up in the committees. That the process of reevaluation, the process of strategy in terms of outreach is a literally continuous process within youth and outreach, and has been for years, which includes cost analysis and things of that sort, again, to the extent that our resources allow us to even gather that type of information. And so and I guess my final point would be that this is not a business, despite our t-shirts and casual attitudes. This is government, and so the point is not to be profitable, it is to provide service. Nobody really, if the street's paved, then you don't really worry so much about how much it costs as long as it gets done. So if our job as outreach is to reach as many people in the community as possible, then we have to spend the money to do that and go to them and do as thorough a job as we can within our budget, and a budget which is approved by consent by the entire board. Not only is the question answered in committee, but then it goes to the greater board. If anyone decides that they've got a better way to do it, then they could come to a committee meeting and suggest that. And of course, they can vote their conscience there or at the board level.
Okay, so that's the end of commenting. Everybody's had a chance to comment that wanted to comment. I'm not gonna play this baseball game of going round and round and round because we have other business we have to take care of tonight. I'm gonna make the final comment. When I was doing some research for Budget Advocate, I had to do data mining for our neighborhood council. And one of the things that I data mined was that our area for stakeholders is 49.5% over 60 years old, the people that live in our area. So we need to be mindful of that for whatever decisions we're making, that we have a large elderly population in the Northwest area. Okay, so I'm moving on to the vote. So Thomas Norman,
Aye.
Dave Sampiero,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Dick Christensen,
Aye.
Ray Regalado. Ray,
I'm sorry. Yes.
John DeMiglio,
No,
Craig Goldfarb, Craig,
I voted no.
oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Melanie, yes. Angela,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, next item. This is for the public safety town hall. We are gonna do posters all around in the parks in the area, as well as in some of the business storefronts to publicize the town hall, as well as, so that's $100 for that, and then $200 for a minute taker, because this is an important Brad acted meeting, and a lot of our actions, items that we take on afterwards will need minutes for this meeting. So this is out of committee. Any discussion? John DeMiglio.
yeah, sounds all good. We're doing more advertising and spending more money than we do to get good people on this board, a variety of people, a variety of open-minded people. That's where we need to spend the money. Thank you.
Any other comments? Call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
Dave Santerio,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
John?
Yes. It
Ray.
froze up.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Dick Christensen,
Aye.
John DeMiglio,
No,
Craig,
Yes.
me, yes. Angela,
Yes.
Chris Valier,
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, and that is it. Let's go back to the agenda. Next is bylaws.
Thank you, Melanie, for all the hard work here. Okay, by elections and bylaws, we have two items. The first one is to approve the boundary changes. This came out of committee. We have a couple exhibits. Can we get those on there? That's for the mayor.
This one?
Yeah, that one. If you could take a look, I'm going to draw your attention that currently all the blue outline is where our boundaries are. I want to bring your attention to a piece that was taken from us that is right there, identified by the 110 freeway, right in the Taper area, the extreme east side. I want you to take a look at that. Then you'll see some dotted lines where there was some adjustments made. You'll see that those also will be referenced. So if we could go to the image, the map with the grid, not the
Oh, that was I was having.
that was the picture.
Yeah, let me go see if I can get this to come up. Okay, so I have to stop screen share. and then do it again because it's a PNG. So
Right.
there we go. This one?
Not up there. There you go. So if you'll take a look at the hand drawn piece, you'll see that that grid area under Northwest San Pedro is the part that's going to be given back, for the lack of a better term. It's going to be given back to us. And the reason is that Wilmington had made claim to a portion of the harbor area, the harbor area itself proper. And when they went in there to do this, it took off some of our area. But what it did when they took it away, and I'm going to use the skate park as one of the examples. It kind of split the area of the skate park where we were very much in advocacy of getting it done and completed, you know, supporting the young people and all the people from the union, ILWU, people who have been involved with this. We were one of the biggest supporters, and we actually, I have to say this, that we even advocated for Joe's office to start helping us move this thing, and which they did, and we finally got the skate park dedicated and open. But if we went along with the boundaries, it actually split that area where half of it was going to belong to Wilmington and the other half was going to belong to us, along with the fact that it essentially took LAPD Harbor Station out of our area and put it in Wilmington's area. We, you know, it was originally part of us. It carries, these two locations carry San Pedro addresses. So they acknowledged that we should get this back, and this piece here will be reestablished to ours. They didn't have a new map done yet to show this, but they're showing what part is coming back to Northwest San Pedro. Now, if we can go back to the Averill Park piece, I just want to show you all that what was taken away or readjusted. It's essentially this area is coming back to us. So the maps, our area essentially is going back to the way that we have seen it for quite a long time, historically. So this came out of committee. Take any comment on this by anyone? John?
Yeah, so all that red we gained back, correct?
We're getting
So-
back, yes.
And that's all the way goes to all the way up to what looks to me as Trey Pack on
That's what it
Figueroa.
looks like. Right, yeah, that's what it
Okay.
appears to be.
So all that whole from Channel Street, pretty much?
Right,
And does it go beyond that Channel Street down further?
it goes north
Even north of Channel Street?
of Channel Street. That stuff is going north. I believe is north of Channel Street going up and above. Like I said, it's that whole area that was taken out originally. So yes, it's going north. I think there's a little portion below that also is coming back, but primarily Channel Street would be a good dividing line.
Compared to
Okay,
the
thank you.
I don't think I see any other questions. So is that a committee? So let's go ahead and take the vote. Can we take a vote count on this?
Okay, John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. John DiMiglio,
Yes,
Dan Dixon. I will say the name, even though I don't know if he can unmute again.
He's not even here.
Yeah, he might, they've been having some network issues too, so it could be related. Craig Goldfarb,
Here. Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Yes.
Ben Norman, you are now able to vote again on non-funding stuff, so you're next.
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
David Semperio,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay. That's 12 ayes and 1 recently left, so no vote there.
Okay, item number 2 is to approve the extension of our application deadline for the vacant non-government seat to November 5th. When we were putting this on the agenda for our bylaws committee, we had not received a application at that point, but I'm finding out that we do have an application. Hopefully by the 5th, we'll be able to have more for consideration, but at least we have another, an individual for that. This came out of committee, so we're just asking for your approval to extend the deadline to November 5th. Take any questions? John DeMeglio?
Yeah, that's where I haven't seen it posted anywhere. And that's where flyers would come in. We have the money for it. Why don't we put flyers out so that we can get not a hand-picked group of people, but some open-minded people that want to actually volunteer their time honestly and fairly and open-mindedly. I haven't seen a posted anywhere. And if you have flyers, people would respond to it. Thank you.
Okay. I see another hand up. Chris?
Yeah, thanks. Just if someone could send me a fresh email with the bullet points of whatever it is you'd like to go into a social media post, I can do that as well. It's something we're going to probably do an increasingly frequency up to the deadline.
Okay, we can just kind of mirror the previous ones for the previous deadline, but yeah, we'll get that out. Let's see who else out there. We do have someone on the attendee side, and that is Laurie Jacobs.
Hi, thank you. We did promote this open seat on the very top front page of the website, in each weekly newsletter, our email distribution, the e-newsletter, and it would be extremely costly to send out a flyer to 11,578 residents for just one open seat. So not quite sure that that would be an effective use of our funds. Certainly we can talk about it at the outreach committee, but I don't think that that's an effective use. And we do everything we can to share information about this, because we do want good people on the board who show up to our outreach events and help engage the community and are well informed and read our packets. We are very anxious to find people like that. So people should, it would be helpful, like what Chris said, if they have ideas, come to the outreach meeting when we're talking about how to promote these things. Thank you.
Craig?
Again, you know, the specious attack of, oh, you have to go to this committee. That's why we have board meetings, so that we could discuss it among the board and in front of the public. But the other thing is we're going to have the park ad hoc committee. They're going to put out bulletins and flyer, you know, but we can't do that for an empty seat. It would be it wouldn't have been we didn't have to send it out to 11,000 people. All we had to do was put posters out and little hand flyers in places where people in Northwest would go. I think that some people's thinking of democracy and how we get people to get involved with us may be a little strained here. I'm done.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the vote. We've had everyone had an opportunity to say something.
Can I speak one more time, please?
If you would, yeah, go ahead and make it brief so that we can move on.
Thank you. You know, it was just said over and over on the last item that there's a bunch of old people that aren't on social media. But then again, they're pushing social media for this event. I'm tired of them recruiting people because they don't properly advertise it. And it's just unfair, and it's been going on for a long time in this board. We need to get people out there there's people out there that would volunteer their time, but they don't see the opportunity to do it. They don't get the opportunity. They don't get the information. It was just said, they're older people, and we got the money. I think that's why we're allocated money. We're allocated money so we can spend it on stuff like this, so we can get people on the board. And we're not doing it. One application doesn't make any sense at all. We're failing. We're failing. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. I don't see any other hands up. We're gonna go ahead and take the vote. Can we take the vote count, please?
Okay, for the extension of the deadline, John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio,
No.
Craig Goldfarb,
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq,
Yes.
Ben Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
David Samperio,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle,
Yes.
It's 8 o'clock.
and it's 8 o'clock. Believe that's 11 ayes, but let me double check. Yes, 11 ayes, 1 nay.
All right, that concludes our bylaws and elections motions. We'll move on to agenda item number 9. This is the Empower LA Virtual Governance Working Group. Melanie?
Yeah, this will be real quick. We have a meeting this Thursday and for virtual governance, and what we're trying to do still is put together the round down who the pilot programs are going to be. They're going to be 14 neighborhood councils out of 99, and so it's being sent to Bonk for our people that we pick, for them then to decide which ones they want or to pick out of the people that we narrow it down to. So yeah, so eventually, hopefully by next month or so, we're gonna be having a list of the pilot neighborhood councils and then start going from there. Part of the holdup is with the Brown Act, because the Brown Act hasn't been changed yet. And until it's changed, the way it reads right now is that if we were to meet, all these things have to be like listed on the agenda, like where we're at if you're virtual. Doug has his hand up, so I'll let him. He's really informed on the Brown Act, so this would be great for him to speak on this. Doug?
Yeah, just briefly, actually, AB 2449, which amended the Brown Act with all of the requirements, was passed through the legislature and signed by the governor. So it is the law, and it takes effect, I believe, on January 1.
Okay.
So
that's good. So that allows us to do hybrid then,
if we choose.
if we choose to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome, Doug. Thank you.
Can we do a little clarification? Who would be the we?
Thanks. Yeah, I was going to say, is that the city or Dunn or us individually, or?
It's anybody's guess at this point, if I may answer. The law, as it exists, would leave the choice up to each individual neighborhood council. Now, the question is, what is going to be recommended by the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners and or City Council and or done and or the mayor's office? If I had to take a guess at this point, given the time frame, I would say what we'll probably move into is leaving it up to each neighborhood council and whether or not they want to try out the hybrid. I know there are at least one or two councils that are raring to go.
Yeah.
So are you, when you say try out the hybrid, you're talking about the pilot programs and giving them the idea or giving them the choice?
Actually, no. There are a couple of councils that, whether they would be chosen or not, would like to give it a shot. I know certainly Panorama City is one of them that has talked about it and wants to do it regardless. And at this point, based on what I have heard in our meetings, is that the department would, as long as they're, following the new law, would let them go ahead and give it a shot. I don't think the city in that's done is going to be ready in terms of funding for quite a while. I
So
mean,
Doug, this would mean though, not until the Brown Act is enacted until January, till it's fixed, right?
that would be correct. That would be the point at which they would have the applicable law with the rules and regulations that they will need to follow.
And if I can just say this, the only reason why we can't do it on our own at this particular point now, I'm just giving it to you from the department's perspective, it's the fact that the city council has not allowed this to happen. So we have to follow whatever the city council says. So going back to what I think one of you said, that, we got to see what city council does to see what they're going to allow neighborhood councils and other commissions and task force committees to do so.
Right, and also that Brown Act change has to go into effect in January to do it too, because the way it stands right now, you can't.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may real quickly, what we've been told is that the state declaration will probably run out and not be renewed toward the end of this year.
Yeah.
So that any further declaration would strictly have to be a local declaration.
Right. All right.
Ready? Thank
Any,
you, Doug.
any discussion? Any questions, comments from the panelists or the attendees? I don't see any hands up.
No. Alrighty.
Right, so we'll move on to the president's meeting with the board. Thomas, do you recall any things of importance to discuss? Off the top of my head, I don't.
No, there was already an announcement made about the activities coming up. Celebrating Halloween, celebrating the Christmas. To look at the website, they were promoting those. With some comments by the chamber president, but nothing very significant in terms of big grants or projects that they announced.
Right. Okay, agenda item being that it's you can question now for the agenda item. Any questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any hands. We'll move on to agenda item number 11, and that is committee reports, Budget and Finance Committee. Melanie?
Nothing to report, just a comment to remind everybody that our meeting's on the first Wednesday of the month, usually. This last month, because of the holiday, it was on Tuesday, but the meetings every month, so it's important before the meeting happens that we get your motions for money. if you have any out of your committee. And what the motion was for how much and what the vote was would be important. All righty? Thanks.
Thank you. Public safety? Oh, wait, well, let's take any opportunity for anyone to make, ask questions on budget and finance. I
Okay.
see no hands, so let's move on to 11B, public safety. Melanie?
Okay, so mostly public comment. We had discussion. 7th Street, I guess, is having a problem with the crossing guard, that they don't have one right now. I guess it was taken away because there's not enough kids enrolled in the school. But there's been a lot of incidences there, so I'm gonna try and look into that to see what the specifics are for that, because that's kind of hazardous for that school not having it. There's an incident in the Taper area where this person that was high was trying to open the front doors of several neighbors, and he attempted to come in to several houses, and he was the same guy that was at 7-Eleven that had that sheriff's standoff, you know, at the 7-Eleven on Capitol and Gaffey for hours there, that was at the standoff. He was the same guy that had been released on parole, or on bail, I mean, not parole. He was on bail until his hearing, and he failed to show up for the hearing. So when the police were called out and found in somebody's yard, they came out and they got him on the warrant that was out on him because of failure to show up for his hearing. The Stone Age dispensary, concerned about it because it was reported that it was supposed to be on Gaffey, it was supposed to be a delivery only facility, and it was witnessed ATM cash machine being delivered and storefront items for the store. And so there was a big concern as to whether or not they were going to be an open store now instead of delivery only, because that would be the only need for an ATM cash machine to be in that facility if it was going to be customer front door purchases, you know, through the door. So the SLO was notified and the narcotics units involved in it at this time. We are postponing a cleanup that we had proposed originally for Capitol Drive because of some issues with Target. They've got sprinklers that are broken that are causing a problem, and there's big delays on them repairing them. And so I don't want anybody in the murky water trying to clean stuff up, you know, with mosquito larvae and everything else all over the place. So that's been postponed. There's a discussion, but this has been rectified now. There's been problems with the taco vendor was back, and it's over by Johnny's. And they were playing loud music until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And a lot of neighbors in the whole area were complaining because they could hear the music. It's loud opera music, some of it. And originally people thought it was 7-Eleven, but it was them. And so the SLO took care of it. He just notified me today that they were told they couldn't be in a residential area and they had to move. And then, of course, the motion for the town hall. And I'll just piggyback on this too, for the update on the town hall. It's going to be October 27th from 6 to 9. We received RSVPs from LAPD, from LAFD, from the Rec and Parks Management Executive Team is going to be there, as well as Rec and Park Local Regional Facility. We're going to have the Park Rangers head there. And also we've invited the CD15 candidates to be special guests. They'll be in the attendee side. There'll be no politics at the town hall though. We've also invited some special guests that are advocates in the area, like Najee Ali, and invited the press to be at the town hall. So hopefully all the board members will be able to attend. You'll be attendees, but you can speak as stakeholders in the town hall, which we'd love to have you. As far as CPAB was really one of the shortest CPABs that I have ever attended. There was very little information at it. It was really, really short. Catherine said that this area is number 4 in crime in South Bureau. We've had a huge decrease. 9% down in shootings, increase in guns in the street, increase in robberies. Hyundai's and Kia's TikTok challenge. And they said that the cars, the Kias and Hyundais that have the fobs, they aren't at risk. It's the ones that have the click or the keys, but not so much the electric vehicles and the hybrids, I guess, the newer ones. And they're giving clubs away again soon to people. They recommend using a club if you have that Hyundai or Kia, that they can get in with a key and start your car, because it can be started with a USB port. Peck Park incident, there were 4 arrests, 3 individuals were released though after, because they have to get further evidence to indict them. The 15-year-old girl that was arrested for the shooting for the 13-year-old boy, 19-year-old girl, was taken into custody and detained at juvenile hall. In our area, there have been several burglaries in vehicles. Make sure your car is locked, because they said that 4 out of 5 break-ins in the vehicles were unlocked cars. Thefts are down, cut in half from 9 to 4. And then this festival is over the 24th. Central area increase in robberies. Wanted flyers were out, and that's working. And that's a model that they're going to take on, is if something happened and somebody's on the lam, so to speak, and they found that these wanted posters posted around so the community can see them, are helping them catch some of these people that are known for thefts and robberies and stuff. Italia Fest is October 15th and 16th downtown, and encourage everybody to go to that. So any questions, Chris?
Yeah, just a couple things. Clarification of the Hyundai Kia issue. Being a new Hyundai owner myself, I was pretty concerned. I do have it's the distinction is if you use a key to turn your ignition switch,
right,
you're vulnerable. If you have a push button, or what other automated start, you're technically, you're not vulnerable to that particular weakness. Although I think there's a problem if people don't know that you have that starter or not, and they break in thinking you have one, but you have the other. But the manufacturer is selling kits that apparently remove this vulnerability. It is $175 or thereabouts, which isn't exactly a remedy for a lot of people, but it is better, obviously, than your deductible and having your car stolen. So if you happen to fall into that category, you can go to your dealership and get essentially get sort of TikTok proofed. And then just a note on the we here in the I guess this is what are we, the April area now. We had a I guess a neighborhood watch meeting, or kind of inaugural one for the 8th and Walker area with SLO Ulmer, and it was very helpful. If you ever do have issues, especially ongoing issues in your neighborhood, it's worth it to take the time to meet your neighbors if you haven't already, to exchange information, to pull your information and your resources and coordinate. And my impression based on this is that you get a more thorough, comprehensive, and really timely response from LAPD when you have, let's say, a dozen or so people who are all asking similar questions at the same time, as opposed to, dialing the non-emergency number, sort of waiting, and maybe they pick up, maybe they don't, and then maybe you give up on it yourself. So if enough people kind of hang on to their concerns long enough and deliver those in a bundle, it's a little easier. In our particular case, we were also able to pull some evidence and some information that may allow the officer to kind of make progress on a case that is actually kind of wide-reaching across San Pedro. So it's definitely, what I'm saying is it's worth the time to do it. It's worth the time to connect with your neighbors for that sort of stuff. It's much, much better than kind of searching in the dark by yourself.
Thanks, Chris. Craig?
want you to note again, and this goes out to our members of the outreach committee. The flyers helped catch criminals. People actually see the flyers. They respond to them. Gee, isn't that a novel idea? Thank you.
Thomas?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, thank you for the report. Neighbor 3 houses down since our last meeting had her house burglarized while she was at her patio. So I mean, the events are up, and then one I haven't verified, but as president of the Rotary Club, I've been asked to look into supporting students in the lower area of our district that are walking to Dana. There's maybe some activity where kids are not feeling safe. So I've been asked if we could maybe provide van service from Taper to deal with bullying or just harassment that really seems inappropriate for younger students just trying to go to school every day. So just wanted to share that, and thank you, committee, for your work.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody in the other side?
I don't see anything on the other side.
All righty. And that's my reports.
Thank you, Melanie. We're gonna move on to 11C, Bylaws and Elections Committee, and under that, we just have the status of the board vacancy, and as I mentioned earlier, we do have an applicant at this time. That's essentially it. Any questions, comments? I see no hands, so we'll move on to D, Executive Committee. Possible new training requirement. I believe, let me see, Vic? Is this something you want to talk about?
No, I thought this was something you were going to bring up.
There was an email that went out about new training that might be added to the our training.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's and it's there's, I believe the link that's there are the CISs from other neighborhood councils about that training. I don't remember the exact title of it, of the training that could be required. It's not yet, but they're looking into it.
Yeah, and for the life of me, I'm trying to remember.
Isn't it workplace harassment?
No,
it's I think it's bias training
If I remember correctly, it was something about bias training as it related to gender identity or something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're thinking about a new training. I would suggest everyone take a look at that website, take a look at what it looks like and some of the objections or support for that training, so that we might be able to supply the people who will be making the decision our feeling on it. This will be something that will be coming probably out of city council. It's
Ray, there was
suggested.
a suggestion on a CIS. Do we want to appoint a committee to do the CIS on this?
Well, we do have a hand up who might be able to explain more.
Victor, could you say that again?
Doug Everhart's hand is up and he might be able to explain more.
Okay, I didn't hear that. Okay, Doug, you want to say anything else?
Well, yes, I did take a look at some of the other CISs, and I also looked at the motions involved here, and I note the irony that Dill Cedillo, Nuri Martinez, and Kevin DeLeon all voted to require that we take diversity training, something that they perhaps could have benefited from. This is indeed involving gender bias primarily. And if I recall correctly, this would be coming along fairly soon, before the end of the year. But
Yeah.
again, I would just point out that there doesn't appear at this point to be consequences for not taking this training. I would note that individuals who have not, for instance, taken the ABLE training have not been, nothing's happened to them. So I don't know where any possible enforcement is happening.
At this particular point, you're absolutely right. There is no enforcement aspect to it. I think this is going to be, it's suggested training at this particular point, but I think the fear is by many that this being mandatory, there may be some consequences if you don't. So, and I'm not saying that it's mandatory at this point, but it's like I said, it tends to be where they go with these things.
Yeah, I would just suggest briefly that if anyone is concerned about the idea of treating others civilly, the best lesson right now would be to read the LA Times.
I guess there could.
I'll leave it at that.
I guess there could also be those individuals that maybe take a look at some of our local elected races too. Some of the comments that have been made. But going forward, Melanie, your suggestion, I don't necessarily want to say it. I think I heard you say do maybe establish a committee, but I think maybe it might be more appropriate to send it to one of our already made committees to take a look at it.
Right, that's what I meant. One of our
Okay. All right.
to select a committee to do the CIS and have them do it. Also, I just want to say that I agree with Doug that, I mean, I'm all for training. If we have to do it, we do it. I mean, learning is always very progressive, and it's good for us as neighborhood council representatives to learn and to be up to date on all policies and procedures, etc. The biggest thing that I have a problem with is just like with the code of conduct. There are a lot of things that we're being made to do that, look at Neri Martinez and the thing that happened. We're being made to do all these hoops and jumps and somersaults and everything else and we're volunteers, and the city council is not made to do any of these things, the code of conduct or anything like that. So why are we as volunteers being required to do all these extensive things that really it would benefit them to do some of these things?
Well, you're absolutely right. I think the appearance will show that it looks like it's more like do as I say and not as I do type thing, from the example. But I will say that at this particular point, we have not seen the end of whatever the consequences will be for these individuals who participated in this conversation. So I would say, for those of you who know or don't know, I spent the last 20 years working in the field of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I have a great passion to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that our communities are well informed and given opportunities to access and participate in governance and those things that affect our governance. So I would like to see a committee, and I would like to suggest perhaps our issues and community issues committee may want to take a look at this. If I have no other suggestions, I do see your hand, Craig. I'll just end with this, and then you can make your comment that I believe it's important for us to get a full understanding of what is what they're hoping to accomplish with this, how people who are seeing this and reading this for the first time, how they're reacting to it, and seeing how they feel it might be affecting them. I see value in this type of stuff, but that's my personal opinion, given my training and background. Craig, you have your hand up?
Yes. There was a lot of virtual signaling. It's these trainings. I found I had a great time doing the anti-bias training, and it was not required. And if they give us other trainings, I would look forward to them. I do think that this was a rather weird introduction to whatever may or may not be happening.
Any other comments or questions on anything, either side? Mr. Demaglio.
Yeah. I think the training's great. More training, the better. Just make it easier for us to connect with that training and do the training, and don't spring it to us on say, well, you only have so many days to do it. So we get a heads up way beforehand so we can do the training. I think that's, on all our training. All our training needs a heads up before, and so we can do the training. More training, the better. But just because you take a test doesn't mean they're not going to screw up. Someone's not going to screw up. So, all right, thank you.
So, community issues, what do you think? Would you like to take a look at this, take a stab, and see if you come up with any kind of suggestions, feedback, give the opportunity for others to maybe join in on the conversation as you look at this?
I will, yeah, I could discuss it with Dan. See what he says. We'll take a look at it.
And if I could, just if I, maybe a plan B would be if there's another committee that would like to take a look at this. Not if community issues says they're going to do it, fine, but just in case, is there someone else, another committee?
Public safety could do it. Public safety could help them do it too.
Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and let you guys take a look at it and come back with some report back as to what it looks like and what it's all about and how it may affect us. So, all right, that takes care of that one. Let's move on to youth and outreach. Chris?
Thank you. That is public safety. There's CPAB. Yes, so this is a special meeting. We had changed our date from Monday to Friday to accommodate Rosh Hashanah. We, as has already been handled, we interviewed and approved Ben Norman for the youth seat. And so again, welcome, Ben, and thanks very much for jumping, basically hitting the ground running at an event, actually the day after, the following morning, with you and your and the good doctor. And we, again, so it's the discussion about, the word escapes me now, the allocated money for Candy Cane Lane and the San Pedro Holiday Parade. So that was those are becoming fixtures kind of our annual schedule. So those passed unanimously. And then the discussion went to again, the existence and the purpose of the advocate newsletter in this case. When we have an election cycle coming to a head, it seems like that's one of those times it's worth it to make an additional effort for literally more outreach, basically another form of media entirely, and a much wider sort of guaranteed hit circle. When we publicize things in social media, for instance, obviously we know, I could tell you offhand, there's about 650 or so people who follow us on Instagram who may or may not engage with or react to a particular post. Those posts get copied to Twitter, they get copied to Facebook, where we can see what our engagement is. And those numbers are particularly small, but there's also no guarantee that those people will get it. So one of the recurring pro arguments for the existence of the newsletter is that it's essentially a guaranteed hit. You will get it to this, we'll go into 5 digits in terms of the number of households that will at least at some point see this information and have it in front of them. And again, we don't have the same metrics in terms of being able to tell who engages with it and if they get any kind of utility out of it. But it is a much wider net to be cast than our electronic media. And so that passed, and we went over some of the logistics for the printing and stuff. Laurie handled those. We had a stakeholder give us a interesting idea for a, and actually it's sort of, in a way, it sort of ties into some of what board members DeMeglio and Goldfarb were talking about with those more simplified materials in order to sort of do a kind of a handshake in terms of getting board information out there, getting at least some sort of nugget of information into people's hands with a little bit less energy, a little bit less time, money, and effort. And the idea of having a some kind of art or craft project for children, ostensibly, but it would be a way for us to target a younger demographic, that is, people who have children young enough to still be coloring, would probably not be in the 60+ category, or if they're grandparents. But either way, it's the sort of thing that once the kid engages with it, if they enjoy coloring this or doing whatever activities on this single sheet of paper, those things tend to end up on a refrigerator or something, or a cabinet for some length of time, so that if we include other pertinent information, we can sort of piggyback a little bit of utility content along with something that just, you know, gives you a warm, fuzzy impression of the neighborhood council. So that was a valuable contribution that came by someone who just casually attended the committee meeting, and I believe did it anonymously, but, you know, again, kind of gave us a good spark. So it was a you know, pretty productive and also kind of by the numbers meeting that covering things that we've done before. But that's that time of year for December, we have those standard events, and we're just going to ramp up to those. And then we adjourned.
All right, great, thank you. We'll take public comment, and I see a hand up, Craig.
Yeah, I just, as being Jewish, scheduling a meeting for Friday versus Yom Rosh Hashanah, or somebody else having a meeting on the evening. All Jewish holidays start on the evening before. Shabbos is a holiday for us. It's in fact, we had this whole thing about it a while back with Coastal San Pedro, that they were scheduling meetings on Friday evening. I would appreciate it if you wouldn't. It's, you know, thank you for at least respecting the Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, and that was the conversation. We really kind of ran out of days, but yeah, it's something that we generally like to just build the monthly calendar out so that the conflicts happen as infrequently as possible. This was just a harder one to accommodate than the others. And again, we don't usually have to move the meetings. Monday ends up being most of the time the right place to put this.
Another comment from John DeMeglio.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that we got the money to advertise. That's what we're given the money for, is get the advertise, get it in. It's already been discussed that, you know, and I do want to know, what are the numbers of return are there on social media, and will we get a better return on flyers and stuff like that? We got the money, let's spend it. So we can get a well-rounded board, not a recruited board, just one person here and there that they recruit, so they can be all in line and vote a certain way. It's wrong, and it's been wrong like that for a long time. This board has done damage to the community, and that's why I'm on the board. I called it out to fix it. So if you don't want to take my advice, you know, and you don't want to discuss it, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, we have a comment from an attendee, and her name is Laurie Jacobs. Laurie.
Hi, thank you so much. We were very conscious of Friday being Shabbat, and we were out of time. We wanted to observe Jewish holidays, so we made sure we had the meeting just to let everybody know well before sunset, because the holiday, you know, the Shabbat usually starts at sunset. It was unfortunate. We really want to avoid that, and like Chris said, it was kind of, we were forced to do this, and we needed to interview our candidates for the youth rep, which was why we had to complete it that week. And every other day that week, there were other committee meetings. So we were conscious of this. Okay. And I'm sorry, but it's very difficult to keep taking these insults that people are saying that I attack people, and yet it's okay for them whine and complain and attack me and some other people on the board. We have some great people on this board. There's no fix in here. There's no fixed recruitment. The people.
Point of order, please. Point of order.
I'm a stakeholder, and you cannot call point of order on a stakeholder. Perhaps you should
cannot
take your
do that.
training again.
Don't do that.
Okay, stop.
Finish your
Can't
point.
call point of order.
No, you cannot. Not during the public
Okay.
comment like this.
So take your
Yeah.
training again. Thank you, Ray, for that. And I'm sorry, it's just very difficult to continue to listen to people badmouth our board when they should be supporting our board and community. This is not a good way. I don't want our youth to see this kind of behavior from adults. It's got to stop. And this can't be a one-way street here where they can attack other people, but their skin is thin. Okay. And as a stakeholder, I do have a little more leeway on making some comments. Thank you.
Thomas Norman.
Just wanted to add a different comment from the last meeting. And even though it worked against the interest of our newest member, wanted to encourage everyone to continue, letting youth know about this opportunity. I was disappointed, with the number of candidates, and, had outreach to San Pedro High School, several teachers, trying to get folks to run and compete for that seat. I'm not sure what the final count was or how many people showed up, but we have seen a pattern of not a lot of folks. So just want to acknowledge in terms of the efforts of the committee. We're trying things. We want to all work together, I think, and try as many as we can to attract as many folks, and we could see that with the other open seat we have. So I think we can all commit ourselves to trying all these new areas, and hopefully we'll get a little more uptake. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the comments, everybody. We're going to go ahead and move on to planning and land use. Jason Herring. All I saw is, there he is. There, his hand is up.
Hello, can you hear me?
There you go. Yes, we can.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm standing in for Diana's report tonight. She's out of town. So I don't know what level of detail she normally goes into, so I'll do this at a certain level. And if you have any deeper questions, feel free to ask. The first two items on the agenda basically cover the waterfront beautification project, extending from where it terminates after the section that's near Target and coming up to roughly the Vincent Thomas Bridge area. The section on Gaffey Beautification Phase 2 is the northernmost piece. That piece will be going out to bid in November, and they anticipate a completion in, 2024 early. The phase below that, this side south of that, is from where it terminates roughly near Channel up to the Vincent Thomas Bridge. The port staff has already selected a construction firm. That's a Griffith Construction. They're going to begin this fall, they say, which should be any minute, and they anticipate completion of that phase by next fall. Okay. Any questions on those items? Let's see. Proposed, next one. Yeah, proposed enhanced infrastructure financing district. This consultant has been retained by SCAG to come up with a financing scheme to bring back a financing tool somewhat similar to what CRA had, that would lead to finance public impact projects, including housing as well as infrastructure and transit. The funds would be used for public improvements, and they would be inside of an affordable housing boundary, which is to be set. This plan has to be put in place by the City Council by June of 2023. That specified the use of the funds. There's no new taxes. This is going to be a financing mechanism that would otherwise go to the general fund. The revenue would be coming from future taxes on new construction, not on existing. And to start these off, they would probably issue bonds to get the financing up front, pay back from the revenue from the future tax receipts. Okay, then we discussed the Nico Pizza request for extending their footprint, adding another, 35 seats or so. They're retaining their same hours. It's basically the same concept they have as far as a restaurant that serves beer and wine. They're just expanding it to more seating. There's no entertainment plan, no additional use. This would fall under the new restaurant beverage ordinance, which reduces their permitting fee and requires, there's no longer a public hearing, but does require public outreach. The chamber issued a letter of support for this project. Let's see, proposed CAS in support of Council File 220265. This was proposed by Laurie. I don't know, Laurie's on the call. Does she want to talk to this? She'll be more informed than I would. I don't know if she wants to talk or not. If not, this is basically to remove, landlords are currently using credit reports to determine eligibility for certain housing projects for recipients. And the proposal is to remove the credit check from that requirement. So landlords would no longer be using potentially bad credit to refuse housing. This is an initiative to help reduce homelessness and get people into houses they could otherwise afford or being left out of because they have bad credit. Other items of interest to the committee, the billboards. The council office is planning to set up a meeting with the community to discuss this towards the end of October. RPV is going to be discussing plans for Western, which is their mixed use development plan that they've proposed, beautification, bicycle lanes, etc. That's Tuesday. Okay, well, I guess that's probably over with, October 4th. Croatian Cultural Center. They're in talks regarding taking over the management. The chamber is taking over the management of the cultural center. They would be moving their offices to this location, and they would lease out their current office. Harborview House, Javier reported on this to the committee. We took a tour, much of the committee members did, and besides, we had some differences to how we may have done things overall. There was a very favorable view by the committee of this project. I posted, I don't know, 40 or 50 photos and some videos on the San Pedro Facebook page if anyone wants to take a look. Walker's Cafe, the owner will be coming to our next meeting. They had to undo some of the work they had done to the interior apparently to be code compliant, but they're continuing to move forward with the project. And that's about it. Let me adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Jason. Any comments from the community? Okay, from the panelist side, we got Chris.
Hi, thanks, Jason. Just a clarification for the idea of removing the credit check from rental applications. Is that just that's blanket for everyone, or is that just for public housing or certain projects?
Let's see. I don't know that off the top of my head. If Laurie knows that off the top of her head, she could detail that. I think that's in the notes. I don't recall.
Yeah, it doesn't look like she's on.
Oh, she left. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't have the answer to that right now.
That's okay. That's worth looking at. I'll dig into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I see no other hands up. So, Jason, thank you very much for the report. Really appreciate you standing in for Diana.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to community issues. Dan is, I don't think he's online. Mr. Barbera, would you have anything?
Yeah.
To add?
we had voted, we approved of add, of adding Cynthia Gagne to the membership committee. We also, Dan and I, of course, being on the board and on the issues committee, we do care about our stakeholders and stuff. So we go around and check things out, and we had gone out and checked out the Miraflores, with the dangerous of the parking with the trucks and all that. And it's like 1 to 2 truck. It's not that. We looked at some of the trees that are over there where they're going to put in the, the storage unit facility. They just need to be trimmed. I don't think we have to take them out. And the general discussion of the legislation that signed the restricting the off-street parking. We also went down over by where Home Depot is, and we have noticed that now we counted like 10, we're counting 10 to 11 trucks being parked out there instead of just 2 or 3. So in our next meeting, we're going to be talking about that, and there's a couple other issues. I will say that we finally got the lights on 8th Street all fixed up, plugged in. They need to come back out this week and tie wrap it some more. So it's a tighter wrap on those lights and they won't hang down. And that's about it.
Okay. Any questions? I see a couple of hands. We'll start with Melanie, and then we'll go to John DeMeglia.
Yeah, John, one thing that Issues needs to take up too is talk to Andy Rowe for the I think it's Rowe, that's a traffic guy, the traffic cop, that for him, because there's a lot of trucks that are parking at night on Capitol, and the signs are up, the no parking on our side, and then the 2 to 6 a.m. signs are on the other side. But what they're doing is parking and waiting for the guy to open at the trucking company, and they'll line up in front of the Target all night and park all the way up Capitol and run their engines, which that is a municipal code violation for them to idle all night, number one. And number two, it is illegal because the signs on this side of Capitol where I live say no parking or stopping at any time. And so, yeah, so I've talked to the SLO about it, but he said that what needs to happen is, like for Westmont and for here, we have to have the transportation department, the guy, get signs posted about the trucks that they can't sit and idle and they can't be here.
Okay.
But it has to happen.
We'll look into it. I'll get with Dan on that.
Okay. Alrighty, thanks.
John DeMeglia.
Yeah, John, I've been talking about these trucks over here on Westmont for the longest time. It's a huge problem. And I understand what Melanie's saying. I've seen the truckers dump their load in the middle center and then go fuel at that little station there. And I also have seen an increase of them parking on the curb on that side also. And sometimes on Melanie's side too. It's been increasing. There's no reason for those places and this place over here next on Westmont to paint these things red so that it just no parking. There's no reason for it not to have that, to eliminate this problem. And maybe in the Miraflores area also, just paint it red. There's not that much, the areas that I hear on Westmont, we don't use that Westmont area for parking. Rarely, unless we have a huge party. And then we manage it. It's not necessary for us to have that parking. All it's doing is blocking our community from the people in our community from walking their dogs, and for not having a whole bunch of people sitting around that you have to go around and barking at everybody that comes by so they can do their business of taking trash or picking up whatever they pick up, whatever those trucks pick up. they're doing business right outside our homes. And it's been a big problem, and a big problem for my area and neighbors, the stakeholders that support me and support and want and see the board not doing nothing about it. And they vote. So things have to be done, because we're looking at a lot of damage that this board has done already, and nobody's trusting the board anymore because nothing's happening. Thank you. Any comments?
Well, John, the other thing is you're on the issues committee too, so it can't be the Dan and John show. Everybody that's on that committee should be doing something with us. If you have things, and maybe you should start making some phone calls too. I mean, why does Dan and I have to do all the legwork?
Question. I have an answer to that. I did the legwork. I put the letters in. I did the petition of all these people in the area. I turned it in. Nothing done. Nothing done.
Well, we'll look into it. We'll look into it some more.
I still have the paperwork for it. I have letters that people have written on kitty corner on the opposite side and on my side. So it's done. It's just that the board is not doing anything about it. They're not bringing it to the proper people, to the people in charge. CD 15's not doing anything about it. And they haven't been doing anything since I've been on the board. I haven't seen them do anything at all. So there's a problem, and people are losing faith in this board, to tell you the truth. Thank you.
Any other comments? I see no other hands up. So why don't we go ahead and move on? Thanks for the report, John.
You're welcome.
The Port Environmental Sustainability Committee, Thomas Norman, please.
Yeah, thank you. So we had our second meeting of the combined group with better attendance. One of the larger parts of the meeting was we had Dr. Chen-Jin Liu, who has completed 2 air monitoring projects similar to ones we've talked about here. The second one gave residents of our area all the way up to Carson, Compton, Wilmington was included, indoor devices. The data isn't out on the difference between outside your home and inside your home, what the impact is on pollution, largely from the port on that study. But the first study that he did over the summer, showed that we're lucky if we're in San Pedro, the areas that we're representing, we're better off than the further in you go. Carson, Compton looked particularly bad, but I think that was of interest and related to both port environmental committees. There were no action items I have to bring before you today, or any votes needed. I am soliciting from the committee and from each of you and any stakeholders listening ideas for the upcoming agenda, which will be the third Tuesday at 6:30 if you want to attend that meeting. From report from the port chamber presence meeting, I just wanted to some conversations I hope we'll be having in the upcoming meeting is the fact that the port was the recipient of a good amount of federal money, a good amount of state money that was outlined, millions and millions of dollars. And, the port will be going through its regular cycle with its fees for the community. And you can easily see on their website, they had 3 very large grants, 100,000 plus to local partners here at Wilmington area, and a number of others. So that's something committee members have expressed an interest in just being more aware of the Port Capital Improvement Program, PIP, that funding. So that'll hopefully be a focus of our upcoming discussion. But I think we're also just kind of getting a sense of how to operate the combined committee. It takes more than 60 minutes normally to go through everything on the agenda, and I think that will increase as we have more projects we're looking at. So I'm happy to take any questions.
So let's see, I'm looking to see if any hands are up. I do not see any hands. Thomas, thank you very much for the report. We're going to move on. Item I will be the Christensen Science Center, the ad hoc committee. Big Christensen.
No report this month, still kind of on hold with pandemic stuff.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next, and that's the Hank Harbor Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. Melanie?
No Hank.
No Hank. Okay, no report. Okay, liaison reports. Dan Dixon is our liaison to DWP. He is not on the call any longer, so we'll move on to Public Works. Chris, anything with Public Works?
No, sir, there's not.
Okay, and let me see. Do we have any announcements or anything that we'd like to maybe stick for next agenda items or next report? I mean, next meeting? Let's see. Okay. John DeMeglio, what do you have as a
Hi.
suggestion or comment?
I've had my hand up for a while, and I wanted to ask Vic, is what activity is going on in that science center? Is it just the heads of the places, or are people, is there any classes going on or teaching going on or meetings going on there? Besides, I forget the guy's name now that used to have an office there. Are they still using the offices there? Because they're definitely not putting students there, correct?
Correct. They are doing, it's mainly just office space at this point. They still have the room that they, dual, well, in quotes, dual use as a staff development and, student classroom, but there are no students there. They did bring in, I think, some high school student, well, possibly a combination of high school and middle school months ago.
It's 9 o'clock.
And they planted in a box, and I don't think they've been back since. I think Narbonne was there, Perry, and a couple others, but it's just overgrown with weeds now. They haven't done anything there. The pilot program that had been started has not been continued. About the only productive gardening type science things that are being done are what Feed and Be Fed is doing. So I've asked about, having advisory council meetings again, and the answer I get is, well, we have to spend all this time on pandemic stuff, and so we don't have time for that now. So that's just the way that they're handling it, which isn't
Okay.
any big surprise.
Thank you for that. At least Feed and Be Fed is still there. But we had so much going on at one time, and I know the pandemic shut it all down, but hopefully something happens there. Benefits the kids. So,
I agree, but at this point, they're not willing to start that up again.
okay, thank you.
So next person, Craig.
Sorry. As you all know, and I mentioned before, the high holidays have just occurred for the Jews, Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. I would like to extend to our community my wishes for a good and happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next hand, Thomas Norman.
Yep, I just wanted to make the community aware that at my campus, Cal State Dominguez Hills, this Thursday from 3 to 5:30, we're having our 8th annual South Bay Economic Forecast. The future is green is the topic. And there's some programming very relevant to our community in the port, where we're looking at sustainable transport in particular. So we have a port and we have airport speakers looking at things that are going on there. At the end, there's some craft wine and beer. Frank Motek, if you ever listen to KBC, is the moderator. So if anybody's really interested, there is a cost, but I might end up with one extra ticket. So, please email me. I can, if that ticket's available tomorrow, I can give it to somebody from the board who'd like to learn about the economic forecast for area, which I think is also very relevant. We'll talk about cannabis and a little bit about homelessness on that topic.
Thank you, Thomas. Melanie, you're up. Last comment.
My comment is to just say thank you to the board members that reached out to me this weekend and commented and texted me and checked on me when I was in the hospital. It was very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. You look great, so you must be feeling great, right? So we'll go ahead and move on. This is the last chance for general public comment on non-agenda items. Agenda item number 14. Any hands up? I do not see any, so Chris?
San Pedro girls varsity volleyball won the Marine League, and now we're off to the playoffs. So get your tickets, or actually you don't have to get tickets, just bring $5 and check the online, check the Facebook page for game dates. They're very exciting, and more support is good for the team.
Where are you guys playing?
Well, playoff games could be literally anywhere in the county, but there will be some home games at San Pedro High School. There is actually a senior night, final home game of the season is this Thursday, starting probably about 2:30 in the afternoon and going till maybe 6 or so. That's all for all 3 levels.
Great, thank you. Good luck.
Luck
Craig.
won't be a factor.
Okay. Craig?
Yes, I did want to make a further comment on neighborhood councils are deliberative bodies. And for those that are attending from schools and stuff like that, we discuss and debate, and sometimes those issues go back and forth. But that's our purpose. We're not a team. Officers are not, we're an elected body. People are elected to represent their community, and whether we agree or disagree on issues, it is what our purpose is. Thank you.
Okay. So I think I'd like to say a little something about the nature of today's meeting. I think it was very, it was a difficult meeting to get through, and I want to appreciate everyone who made the time to make comments and had the fortune, all of us, to hear what you had to say. I think we are a very viable neighborhood council. I get that kind of comment from many people that know the neighborhood council system, and we do get our work done, and we get it done normally with very little tension and adversity. So with that, I think Northwest San Pedro is one of the better ones out there, and I owe it all to every single one of you out there today. So our next meeting is November 14th at 6 o'clock. And hopefully without objection, I'd like to adjourn this meeting at 9:06. All right, everybody, thank you very much for being here. Good night.
This is Lydia. Good night.
night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, thank you.